Hello, y'all. Can everybody hear me? Eve, hey, love, wise old lady. SM William Lamb, hello, never seen you before. Welcome. Can everybody hear me good? Jay, hey, love. Sorry we didn't get our phone call again today. Maybe after we get off here, we can chit chat if we're not tired. We'll probably be tired, but how's everybody this evening? Truly, hey, love. My love right there. Oh, Lordy, I'm tired. I have been going all day. I went to the Dollar Tree and I was in there for almost 3 freaking hours. I love that store. It isn't working? Yes, of course I can put it in chat. Wonder why it ain't working. Anybody else can come up too. Truly, one day we gonna start getting you up here. You already know what we're gonna talk about. Everybody else talking about everything else, and we need to be talking about other things, honestly, you know? But for real. And there he is. What's up, bro?
Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Not too bad. Pretty tired.
Aw, I've been keeping you up late, huh?
No, I've been on a weird sleep pattern anyway. I've still been on US time. You know what I
You got,
mean?
like,
I've been
jet lag and shit, and
yeah, like I haven't
Hey, Star
adapted.
Mama. I didn't even know you went back home, and Cher you mentioned something about Cher, and Cher told me, and I was like, "What? I didn't even know he went back."
Yeah, I didn't really like announce it or anything. I guess you know what I mean. Like I don't like to kind of make things about me. You know what I mean? Because people in like
I
my other communities have given me shit for it, even when I've not been meaning that. You know what I mean? People have just been giving me shit for it. You know what I mean?
tell
So
you
fuck.
right, you're in the right community now, and you
Oh,
be
I agree.
yourself.
I don't get
You be
shit. I don't
yourself.
get shit every time I appear on a panel. Every time I appear on a panel, I don't get message like, "Oh, why did you say that? Why did you?" You know what I mean?
No,
It's
you
like,
say what you want, bro. That's why we don't
yeah.
monetize. Even though Cher, she's monetized, you still say what you want,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah. That's the thing. I
Yeah,
don't feel like I have to.
we don't silence nobody. We don't, it's no.
It's like not feeling like I'm walking on eggshells, you know what I mean? It's like that isn't good for someone like me or
Yeah, I
anyone
get
really.
that. Totally, I get that. It's bad for your mental health. Hey,
Yeah.
Nikki. Yeah, never walk on eggshells with us. Never. I promise.
Oh, I never would. I don't feel like that. You know what I mean? Like it's very open.
I don't even know where to begin on anything.
Yeah. So you were at the store for 3 hours.
Yes, the Dollar Tree, the $1.25 store. I
Yeah.
love that store.
What did you get?
I bought $100 worth of stuff. Well, I got what did I get? Like I drink those Boost nutritional drinks like old people drink, you know what I'm talking about?
I know what you mean.
They have those there, for $1.25, and I go there and get those because I like the extra vitamins and stuff.
Oh, it's good to
Um,
take that.
yeah, and they're a lot cheaper there. And I got I don't know what all I got. I got all kinds of stuff.
I ordered a BB gun for my nephew.
Aw, don't shoot your eye out now.
Yeah, like that movie.
Yeah, Nikki, I don't like Ensure. I like Boost better. Old people, let's turn 'em on my hush. My daddy drinks them. That's why. But yeah, they're good for you. I drink them. I drink one every day, every morning. I do, and
So
because
was
I
your
don't like
dad in like Vietnam?
do what?
Was your dad in Vietnam?
No,
Because you're like he would be of that age range, or was he too young to have gone in?
my stepdad was in. I can't. It might have been. I don't remember what it was, but my stepdad was in war, and his brother too. They sent them. They drafted them both at the same time. And two brothers can't go fight at the same time.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know
So,
that.
so they sent the oldest brother to fight, and they sent my stepdad, which was younger, to Alaska for 2 years. Yeah. Yeah. If there's two brothers, you can't send them both to fight at the same time.
I did
It
not
might
know
be
that.
different now, but it was like that then.
Well, it
See, he
makes
was born in
sense.
like the 40s, I think. So whatever
Oh.
war was then.
Well, yeah, if it was the 40s, it would have been some kind of Vietnam. He could have been in Thailand or like other places nearby Cambodia, other shit near. He could have even been sent to Korea, to the DMZ.
No, he went to Alaska.
All right, but yeah, like I guess he was on National Guard duty rather than overseas postings.
Yeah, but if his brother hadn't went too, um, he would have went and fought. It says World War. Hold on, no, that wouldn't be it because that's when he was born. So let's say the 50s. Let's see what war it was. Korean War? No, that don't make sense.
Depending on when in the 40s he was born, he could have been in the Korean War. If he lied about his age. Because
Hold on, I can tell
technically,
you.
the Korean War isn't over. So technically, anyone who's serving there now is
Hold on, I got a
technically
picture of his headstone and stuff because he was buried, in the veterans. Hold on, I'll tell you exactly.
cool.
Let me look it up here. Let's see. Here we go. Vietnam.
Yeah,
Hold on, I got a better picture. I'm not going to show the headstone, but I do got it, because you know how fuckers are.
absolutely.
Hold on.
People are sick.
Where's that one at? I got a better one somewhere. Where the hell's it at?
I was watching
Yeah.
Full Metal Jacket the other day.
Hey, Rock. Hey, chicken lady.
Hey, everyone coming in.
Oh, you're feeling bad, chicken lady, man. I'm sorry. I hope you feel better, beautiful. Where is this fucking picture? Here we go. He was born in 1948, U.S. Army, Vietnam, SP5. Yeah, so he was in Vietnam. And his brother, but he didn't go fight because his brother fought. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's hell. I mean, it must have been hell being in that war.
Yeah, and like his brother got killed, they would have sent him in
Wow.
because back then they drafted them straight out of school, and
Yeah, yeah, you got like a draft number, like they did it in the Second World War in the UK as well. It's like if you got a certain number, like you'd either be sent to fight or you'd be sent to work down the mines or in the industries or like the Home Guard or something, like the National Guard's equivalent. So stuff like that. So a similar thing.
yeah, my uncle, his brother, used to always say, "Yep, little brother, I saved your life, didn't I?" Like
Yeah. Because I mean, Vietnam is different than World War Two or One because it wasn't trench warfare. You know what I mean? All these guys that have been growing up with stories of
Forrest
trench
Gump.
warfare. Yeah.
But yeah, it fucked my uncle up, and like this is probably bad to say, but I'm glad my stepdad didn't go because my stepdad pretty much raised me, because we lived in Kentucky. My real dad, he's still alive. He's in Alabama, and
Yeah.
but he was one of the best men I ever met in my life. And after my mom died, he was still there for me, and
Wow. I'm
it
sorry that
killed
your
me when I
mother
lost
passed
him.
away. I'm sorry that they passed away.
It was so wild. My mom died from an overdose. She was an addict. And
Wow.
he found her in bed. She died in her sleep. And then she died on June 7th. He died on June 1st, and they buried him on June 7th.
Wow. That's
Ain't that
that's
wild?
that's
And
weird.
and they died in the same house.
Oh,
Yeah, it's wild.
yeah. I mean, that must have been hard to deal with so much loss in such a short time.
Well, it was see, mom died in 2002. When did he die? Let me see. He died in 2017, so 10 years later.
Right. But still, they're like
Right.
the biggest figures in your life.
Yeah, they were my everything, he taught me how to drive a car and just everything, and he kinda made me who I am today, and
But he still lives on within you.
he does. He really does, because he toughened me up, because he was one that was straight about tough love, because I was a drug addict and I went to prison, and he came, every week and seen me in prison and was there, and when I got out, I don't know, I couldn't have done it without him,
Oh, I mean, I'm so
honestly.
glad you had someone looking out for you when you got out. You know what I mean? Because so many people
Mhm.
have nothing to go back to, and then
So I'm
it's not
saying,
much of
after
a.
mom died, he didn't treat me any different. He still called me his daughter. He has a daughter, my stepsister. That's the only kid he has, but biologically.
Yeah, but he still treated you as if you were his own kid. You know.
Didn't treat me any different.
Yeah, that's great. It's weird because like he treated you that way, and he wasn't like your biological father, but my grandfather's biological father treated him like utter shit, like really badly. Like, and it's weird because he was never aggressive or like bitter about it. You know what I mean? Like he just accepted it. You know what I mean? And like,
Mhm. Yeah, like my stepdad's dad treated him like total dog shit because he had a bunch of brothers, and that he'd work them on the farm like slaves, and they were kids and beat them, but I think that made him who he was, because my stepdad was an amazing man.
yeah, I think my great grandfather was bitter about my grandfather because he fathered him when he was about 21. So I think in his head, it was my grandfather that took his like youth away from him. You know what I mean?
Right. That ain't right though,
Which isn't fair, and it was his
You should
choice
have
to
wrapped
get,
that
yeah,
thing up, you know?
exactly, because they were in Wales when it happened. Well, he was conceived in Wales but grew up in like Haydock, which is in like St Helens area, Wigan area, near Liverpool and Manchester. So yeah, he could have avoided the pregnancy, but didn't. And that's the point, you know what I mean? But obviously, I'm glad that he was born. It's just a cheat that he, you know, I think he was a bit of an asshole as well because like he never amounted to much financially. He was like he drove trucks that carried coal in them, so he wasn't very well off. But my granddad was well off. You know what I mean? Like he built cars for Fords and was in a very senior, then went from building them to management, and then that was a very senior position, an important position. So then he like had boatloads of money. So like compared to him anyway, compared to my great grandfather, and then that just probably pissed him off even more. You know what I mean? Like he could never
Right.
be proud of him, but he put loads of pride and respect into my great uncle, who was his younger brother. Uh,
That's narcissistic bullshit, you know.
Exactly, and then it's not funny, but it's ironic that he put all the love and all the respect and all the praise into my grandfather's younger brother, and then my grandfather's younger brother, subsequently in life, after his marriage fell apart because of his wife uh, being unfaithful, he committed suicide. You know what I mean? So,
Oh
despite all
wow,
that
that's
praise,
horrible.
yeah, exactly, he cracked and couldn't handle it. And that's nothing against him. But my grandfather, despite getting no love from my grandfather, from my great grandfather ever, was still a very loving man, you know what I mean? And was able
That's how my
to
stepdad was, you
navigate
know, because
it.
his dad,
That's
you know, beat
interesting
him and
though.
shit. And
Yeah, because like my great grandfather apparently would beat his wife, my great grandmother, in front of them often. And like she was like a very small woman, whereas he was massive, you know what I mean? So it was like really, really like even like any domestic violence is horrible, especially when the person's like like you know,
but
like
back then it was different, you
oh,
know.
it
It's
was
like
accepted, yeah, it was normal, yeah. But I guess
I
in
mean,
his
even
head,
when I
yeah.
was a kid, you know, my mom used to beat my ass if I messed up, you know what I'm saying? And I
Yeah,
mean,
my
she was
dad hit
still
me a few
rough on
times
me.
because
And
he was ordered to by my mother. But that's they still debate that. They still say my mother's still like, I never asked him to do that. So, you did. You did. You knew what you said. Go up there and deal with him. And I don't know what planet you're on, or in what other way he could have dealt with me other than that. You know what I mean? Because they accused me of breaking my bed when the fucking wood in the thing was shoddy at best and broke easily anyway. And then like they blamed me for that and just didn't believe me. You know what I mean? Because they
right.
bastards they are.
Star
Yeah.
Mama loves your accent, Jay. I
Oh,
love
I,
it too,
I
Star Mama.
appreciate that. You know what I mean? But I guess I've I've made somewhat amends with my parents. You know what I mean? My dad has really bad epilepsy, so I kind of
You need to
forgive him a
because
lot.
that's your parents, and you don't want something to happen and you live with regret for the rest of your life, you know?
Exactly, that's the thing. I have made somewhat of amends with them, and they realised that they were assholes. But I guess it's my dad can hold his hands up a lot more than my mum can. My mother just doesn't like the idea that she had any role in the abuse of me when she did. You know what I mean? And it was also mind games. But honestly, like I don't think she realised she was doing that stuff most of the time. And I
Right.
recognise that they had their own shit going on,
'Cause it's
mental
like the
problems.
family dysfunction, you know, it
Oh
just
yeah,
carries on. Y
them
your
two
mom
weren't
used
dysfunctional, so we became
Your
dysfunctional.
mama said her mom used to switch, my mama did too, and I would hate it whenever my mama would make me go out and get my own switch because I would get a little one so it wouldn't hurt, but them motherfuckers hurt worse than the big ones because they would wrap around your legs.
I don't even know what a switch is.
It's a branch off a tree.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, my mama would make me go out and break my own switch, and I would get the little limbs, you know, and, yeah, they hurt worse. They'll wrap around your legs. I'd have welts around my legs and
Yeah, I was, I'm like a fan of the show The Facts of Life. You remember that show?
sorry, I'm coughing, hold on.
Yeah, she's coughing. That was me yesterday.
Man, I'm finally feeling better, you know, from that getting over COVID, but this cough, I'm finally coughing shit up and
Yeah.
yeah, the green ones, the fresh ones, the live ones, Star Mama. Yeah, I
Oh,
know exactly. Or mama would get me at the fly swatter or whatever she can fucking reach
I'm
sometimes.
surprised that shit doesn't give you sepsis.
Yeah. I think that's what's wrong with kids these days. They need their ass beat, and not like in a bad way, like in a disciplined
I
way,
think
you
it
know?
depends
I
on the
was a
kid.
bad kid. I
It,
was.
it,
I was
it
spoiled
depends
rotten.
on the kid, you know what I mean? Like with me, it did no fucking favors. It just made me hate my parents and hate authority. And it happened in occasions where I didn't deserve it. You know what I mean? There were times
Right.
where maybe I did, but that didn't happen. But it was times where I did nothing wrong where I got
My
that
mom
shit.
had a lot of resentment towards me, I believe, because it was me and I have a little brother, and my
Yeah.
grandmother on my dad's side spoiled the fuck out of me, and she treated my brother like shit. Well, my mom held that against me.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's not my fault.
Oh,
That
absolutely not. You were a kid.
And my brother never got beat. He would do something, I would get in trouble for it.
Yeah,
But
that's
and I didn't even realize it all that until recently, actually, because 'cause I've been doing some inner child work, you know, and
in therapy.
yeah.
That's good. That's good. I go into therapy. I mentioned
But
last night.
I've forgiven her, you know, and
Yeah.
she was an amazing mom, she really was, and she done everything she could for me and my brother,
Sounded like
considering.
she had her demons, but she really tried despite that.
Mhm.
And that's no more than most do, especially when they're hooked on drugs. At least she tried. You know
Well,
what I
she didn't
mean?
get hooked on drugs until later on,
Right.
because she had back surgeries and she got hooked on pain pills.
That happens a lot. I'm surprised my
Mm.
grandfather isn't hooked on pain pills, but I guess he doesn't really have an addictive personality. He was able to stop cigars very well, but yeah, he has like a plate in his back, and like it stops him from sleeping very well. So like he takes like pain pills and stuff. But I told him he should take like THC and CBD, but he won't hear of any of it, which is ridiculous. He's like living in the Stone Age.
Some of them are addicted and don't even realize it, you
Well, he
know, he might
probably is
be.
addicted. That's probably why he
Mhm.
won't. He doesn't want to take THC or CBD. You know what I mean? Well, that makes
'Cause then
sense the way
he'll
you
lose these
said it
pain
now.
pills, you know?
Yeah, because it's his thing. He's been on them since like the late 90s.
And,
So
like,
he's
when
yeah.
you're on them like that, when you get addicted from, like, back surgeries or anything like that, you don't realize it. You think you're in more pain than what you really are. You know what I
Oh yeah,
mean?
you
So
create pain. Yeah, so to justify
mhm,
having it. Yeah, absolutely.
mhm.
You're right there. You're right. It's funny. I'm glad that I've never been hooked on pain pills because I mean I've taken like abused codeine before. Well, not really abused it, but I've taken it with like drinking and smoked pot on it. And like all it did for me was like make me feel really nauseous and not feel anything in my head, in my body. You know what I mean? So it was just I
Yeah,
didn't
and see
enjoy the
where my
feeling.
mom died, you know, from pills, because I was 19, and I think that's what's kept me from staying away from pills. I never fucked with them, you know? I was on harder stuff, that was my demons, and I've been clean from that for almost 17 years, you
Well,
know, and
congratulations.
thank you. June
You've
will be
come so
17
far.
years. I had to. It's either jail or death, you know?
Exactly. And like even now, it's like you get like there's no way like I'd go out and buy Coke because it's like it probably has fentanyl in it.
Oh my god, there was this thing, I was watching the other day. I wish I could find it. It happened a while ago. There was these, brother and sisters and friends, 5 of them partying, you know, just
I
snorting some
saw that.
coke,
I've yeah, I followed
and
it.
it was, laced with fentanyl, and they didn't know it, and they all died, and
Yeah, they were the Kansas City Chiefs fans, and then they all went
Ye
out to do a few bumps of what they thought was coke, and because it was fentanyl within
Oh,
all
no,
of
not
them.
that one, it was a different one. This is a different one.
Oh right, well, I guess it's like it happens so
Hold on,
much.
let's
It's
see
like
here.
I'm considering joining a militia. There needs to be them, doesn't there? Do you agree?
Do what now?
Like join a militia or form a militia. You know what I mean?
Let's do it, fuck it.
We should form our own militia. Me, you, Sharon, and Mark, and everyone.
Here it is. It was in Colorado. Let's watch this real quick, cause that's why I
Whoa.
like it scares me too about drugs. I don't do nothing because Even weed is laced with fentanyl these days.
Well, so long as you get it from the dispensaries, that's or you grow it yourself, that's the only way you can guarantee, you know what I mean? Buying anything off the streets is Russian roulette these days. It's not the 70s anymore.
Right. Thank you, Star Mama.
Sadly, not the 70s anymore. Well,
Shit, I wish.
yeah, I mean,
67.
yeah, obviously acid was easier to get hold of, but the weed was dead weak. It's a lot stronger now, so
I think this is it.
Hello?
Yes, this is 911. Okay, what is going on there?
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people.
Okay, do you know what they took?
It looks like cocaine on the shelf.
Okay.
I get called for every homicide in my jurisdiction, but this call was different.
Breaking tonight, 5 people dead, a woman and an infant pulled out alive. Whatever happened inside that Commerce City apartment is beyond words, beyond explanation.
It really is. My memory is that I got there shortly after 8 o'clock. It was pitch black out, and yet the apartment complex was lit up by law enforcement lights. It was a major crime scene.
I stood in the doorway of that apartment, and to see these people just lying on the ground, but it almost was like somebody just took their soul, and they literally just collapsed. It looked to us as the investigators like they thought they were going to be using cocaine.
Seeing the DEA agent point the TruNarc at the powder and then showing me what it came up as, and it just said fentanyl.
They thought they were all going to be using powder cocaine. We're not suggesting that was okay, but it's certainly things that we can understand that people do. But they all paid the price with their life.
I actually always warned all my friends. I hated drugs. So what gets me so upset is, I told them. And it just makes me sad that it was my sister. Sam was Karina's boyfriend. Jen and Steph, they were our friends. And Cora was Sam's sister. And Berto was Cora's husband. I mean, it wasn't like a party. It wasn't anything crazy. It was just a few friends hanging out.
I didn't know what to think at first. I thought somebody killed them. I thought, well, somebody did kill them, but I didn't relate it to drugs at all. I just didn't know what it was. She went to dinner that night and expected to go home and have a little fun, I guess. It was her first real time going out since she had the baby.
They had just decorated the baby's room, and it was so cute, and she worked so hard, and she had everything so perfect, and she had her little outfits hung up from size. She had everything. She just had everything for that baby. She wasn't a druggie. She was just having a little fun. So she thought, she didn't deserve to die. None of them did.
It was clear from the crime scene that these 5 individuals didn't know they were taking fentanyl. And so I wanted to immediately tell the public, no drug is safe right now. People who are taking drugs and not knowing that fentanyl is laced within them are dying. I was terrified that there was more of it out there. And I was terrified that we were going to have more deaths.
It's so cheap to make this drug, and it's so addictive. And because of the highway systems and just the sheer location where Denver's at, it makes it a very easy hub for these drugs to come into the Denver metro area and then be distributed.
We knew right away that this was going to be a really challenging case. I have to have an identifiable suspect that I can prove sold the drugs that were laced with the fentanyl that killed these 5 people.
We suspected that one of the decedents brought the drugs, but who did that person get the drugs from? We were able to get it down to one of 3 people, but barring a confession, we weren't able to get to the level of proof that we needed to get to our probable cause.
I would hope somebody would have a conscience and come forth and say something. Stephanie loved the outdoors, loved sports. She lived vicariously like through our child. She was everything to us. She dropped them off that night and told them, "I'll be back. Mommy loves you, I'll be back." So I gotta imagine, like, in their mind, like how they feel just about like everything. But essentially, I put it to them is that she was poisoned. My son's like an introvert, so he doesn't talk a whole lot. But I can tell, like, it's just wearing on him. That light behind his eyes is gone. My daughter, she says things like, "I'm so angry that mommy's not here. It makes me angry." She says, like,
This was different. It was different than what we have done before in cases where someone has died from fentanyl poisoning. And I think this is one of the first cases that received a lot of prominence, but also helped law enforcement turn the tide on how we're going to respond to these deaths and how we are going to treat them like crimes, which then spurred the motivation to go to our state legislature and say, I need better tools to attack the fentanyl problem.
I think the laws still need to be stricter, but before it was not even a slap on the wrist. I know everybody thinks that they're taking drugs, they should know, but it's not right. They were poisoned. They didn't choose to do that. I mean, I think they were murdered, and somebody should pay for that.
Very powerful. I mean, personally, I think that anyone who can be proven to be dealing in fentanyl should be given the death penalty. Do you agree?
Yes, there's more to this. The sister that found them dead a few years later died of an overdose too.
Wow.
Yep. Not like this situation, just a regular overdose. Yeah.
It's a vicious cycle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was really horrible, because that was siblings and stuff and new babies and
Mothers.
yeah. That's why, people, you need to be careful with these drugs. Anybody that's listening or whatever, be careful, man. It's even, like I said, marijuana is being laced with this shit and it's
Yeah,
killing
just don't buy shit from
generations.
the
It's
street.
wiping whole generations out. It really is. And it's
Yeah,
not like it
people-
used
yeah.
to be.
People need to stop not buy shit from the streets, because if it was back when I was doing cocaine, I mean, I used to buy it all, and in some occasions I've done it all at once. You know what I mean? Just in one go.
See,
because I
that
got
was my
paranoid.
demon, and that story really got to me, and
'Cause it's terrifying.
mm-hmm.
Because it could have been us. You know what I mean? If
It
the
could have
stars
been.
weren't aligned.
Mm-hmm. It could have been.
Well, I'm glad in a way, because it's something that stops me from ever going back to it.
Mm-hmm. Because it's jail or death. You have no other
Exactly.
choice.
And
Seriously.
jail is something I don't even mind, but I don't want to die young, you know what I mean? So it's like, even in my most depressed moments, I haven't thought or felt anything like that, you know what I mean? For a long, long
Yeah,
time.
truly,
So
I've seen that. 2 sisters and Aaron passed. Aaron Carter's sister passed. And there was a sister before Aaron that passed too.
yeah, BJ passed away recently.
Yeah. I don't believe Aaron Carter was an accidental overdose or whatever. I think he was murdered, in my opinion. But that's
Yeah,
how I
'cause
met Star Mama. Actually, I was covering that when he died, and Star Mama was in here with me. She got into it.
yeah, I think he was like abused and he was gonna spill the beans and shit.
Yeah, that's a lot of Hollywood and stuff, you know.
Yeah, so it's the same old story, you know what I mean? That place is run by evil fuckers, you know, evil sick fuckers, you know what I mean?
Look at Chester Bennington and Chris Cornell.
Exactly. They were both, you know, sober for a long time and mysteriously both, you know, had a relapse, and then the second they have a relapse, they OD, you know what I mean? It's a bit...
And they put out some songs talking about harvesting children and all kinds of stuff, you know. And then allegedly, John Podesta is Chester's dad, and it's just wild.
There's connections all over the place. It's strange when you start forming patterns. You know, it's everything's right out there for you to see, but you can state it. But even if you do, people will still just say, "Oh, you're just nuts." But if they actually looked at things themselves and looked at the links that these people have, clear, verifiable links, and rather than just accepting what they're told to, you know, then they'll come to these conclusions. But they just choose
Hey,
not
Sonia.
to. Hey, Sonia.
But yeah, I fully believe though that John Podesta is Chester's dad. They look just alike. And then there's a Rockefeller too that looks like them.
Yeah,
Have you ever seen the side by side I've done of them?
Yes, I have.
Because I was actually going to cover that. Me and Squid was. It's very interesting.
I've done some research into the Rothschild family as well. They're quite interesting. One of them is married to Nikki Hilton, you know, Paris Hilton's sister.
Yeah, so here's the Lawrence, Rockefeller, John, and Chester. Look at them.
Very disturbing that they all look the same.
Isn't it? Crazy, isn't it? Then there's John and Chester. You can't tell me they're not father and son.
Exactly.
It's wild.
Very.
I love how we just talk about whatever.
Yeah, it is. It's like how my channel is when I occasionally do lives.
I like it though, you know. It's not just one certain thing. It's not just true crime or...
Yeah, it's like today we're going to be talking about this case that like you hear like a bunch of other people covering, and then like you're just getting the same clips and the same info just delivered in a different way.
It's like I was going to cover, you know, the church shooting and the parade thing, but everybody's already doing it, you know. And why?
Exactly.
I mean, it's sad, yes, but I'd rather do this. I'm really into this politics shit and the border and...
Yeah, and then all these people in like the true crime community, a load of them are like proper liberals and they hate it, don't they? They're just they're like really liberal, and like in their
I've had people come here, I'm unsub and you want to talk about politics. Bye.
Exactly.
Toodaloo, motherfucker, you know.
Exactly, because it isn't the politics that they want you to talk about. Because
like,
the
I
name
don't care.
It is Cotton Candy Boobs, not random freaking commenters channel.
Yeah, and then like in true crime, you know, people's like, "Oh, that name's so inappropriate," and fuck you.
That name's so inappropriate. We should be all super serious all the time.
She's saying boobs.
She's saying
Come on.
boobs. It's so disrespectful to this case. Meanwhile, the same person saying that's fucking dropping their Cash App at the same time they're talking about some dead kid. You know what I mean? It's like...
Yeah, listen to this. Someone said this.
Her boobs are literally so sweet. They're considered cotton candy.
Shoo.
Say. I said say.
That was an old friend of mine that was saying that.
Yeah,
Speaking of him.
There's a lot inside.
No, I'm not going to get into it. I was going to blast him, but I'm not.
Yeah, there's a lot in the street. I'm glad that Cher covered that Reverend Donna, because what the fuck is she? She's like mental. She should be fucking put in
She's
Bellevue.
fake as fuck. And then Sweetie Pie Low, her little buddy, I don't like her either.
Yeah, she's like, how much does she pay her to endorse her?
Right. It's like, yeah, I
Sweetie
don't like
Pie
none of
Low,
that
she
shit.
reminds me of like any woman in Scientology. Like when I was in Scientology,
Yes.
all of them acted like Sweetie Pie Low. That's exactly how they are.
Yes,
And when I
I
saw her,
agree.
I had like Vietnam flashbacks. I was like, oh my god. It was like Fortunate Son was just playing in my head when I saw her channel for the first time.
Yeah, I don't like either one of them.
No, it's like they've both done a load of ice, you know what I mean? And they're just spouting nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like yeah, people can have like intuition, but not as many as say they do, and not with the precision that they say they have. You know what I mean? Especially when they've been proven wrong on a bunch of things, like she has. You know.
Right. All right, let's get into some politics. Whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Let's deport all the illegals. Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Send them to freaking. Send them to Mexico.
Right.
See how they like it for a change.
Send them to China or somewhere, you know.
Yeah.
Fuck.
How much has Mexico done to stop all these people from Venezuela and El Salvador and all the other countries that just appear, and China and all these other places where they just appear at the Mexican border? How come they're not stopped from getting into Mexico? You know what I mean? So why not we give them a middle finger for doing absolutely nothing about their situation? And anyway, their economy, they're underpopulated. They need people to come in there anyway. Everyone's leaving Mexico, so they need people to come in. So yeah, they need it more than America needs it.
I never thought I would see our country in this shape.
America used to be a beacon of hope. Now it's like a cynical joke. You know what I mean? It's like
we're the laughing stock of the world.
All the things that made America great is gone. You know what I mean? Like they're trying to get rid of it. They're trying to get rid of the easy access to guns. They're trying to get rid of the low taxes. They're trying to get rid of the freedom of speech. They're trying to get rid of all the constitutional rights. They're trying to get rid of states' rights. They're trying to get rid of all that makes America unique and great, and why people came here came there in the first place. You know. My patriotic speech is over.
Oh, you're good. I'm looking through my playlist here. See, I can't remember what we watched. I need to start deleting off of it what we've watched and what we haven't. Let's see here. Arizona lawmaker calls out Biden's border failure. Shit. I watch a lot. I like Fox News, because they're legit. Trump supports them, so I do.
I like Fox News. I like True News as well. Have you ever heard of True News?
Mm-mm.
They're like alt-right. They're alt-right, and they're like, a lot of them are Christians. But I agree with a lot of what they say. It's weird considering I'm not a Christian. I get along well with the principles of the Christian right quite a lot. Apart from the drug shit, you know what I mean? Like I think marijuana and other substances, if people want to do them, they should be allowed. It's like, it's a freedom thing. But in terms of like morality, in the sense, you know what I mean? Like in what kids should be taught, you know what I mean? Because there's some shit that they're trying to push in schools, because I guess this is political, about, like drag queen story time, you know what I mean? Like shit like that, like people in drag outfits talking to kids at like 8 years old. Like, what the fuck's that about? That's wrong, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It's trying to sexualize kids, and that's what the pedos like Podesta and all the freaking Dems want to do. That's what the Democrat Party wants to do. They're full of people like that. They want to, and like, you look in California, they've made a law so that if a guy or someone molests a child, so long as they're under 10 years, they won't be prosecuted for a felony. It'll be considered a misdemeanor, even if it's rape. That's a law that the Dems, Gavin Newsom, Mr. Communist in the pockets of the Chinese government, has passed in California. And it'll come to the rest of America unless that fucking bad party is kept out of government. And that's not just in a national level, that's at a local level as well. And a state level. You've got to get rid of them as an, you know what I mean? They've got to be voted out in every, you know what I mean? Like, don't just vote nationally, vote in every election against them, whoever it is. Just don't. That's my view. Just get rid of them, because then we can start to get rid of these bad policies that are like aimed at destroying America as a country as we know it. And the same policies are being put against Europe as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the same story in like a load of other countries, Ireland as well, especially. The people in Ireland are rising up to this thing.
Okay, some of the stuff I'm going to play is older.
Sure.
You know, because whenever I was first going to do this is whenever I had fucking COVID.
Oh, yeah, I remember, yeah. I was looking forward to it, and then the live didn't happen. I was like, oh, shit. But then, like,
I got
you
so
recovered.
fucking sick. Let's see. I got a lot of stuff on the New York thing. Let's see. Where am I going to start?
I might not be here the whole time because I do have to be up relatively early tomorrow. Got family stuff to do.
Shit.
You lost it.
What the fuck? Yeah, I'm losing my mind. What I'm doing. Okay, here we go. This is where migrants were stuck between razor wire. I don't feel sorry for them. I feel sorry for the kids.
Yeah, because I feel sorry for the kids, but I don't feel sorry for those like piece of shit parents who are like putting the kids in danger. Exactly.
Texas lawmakers are outraged over a Supreme Court ruling allowing the federal government to remove that razor wire along the U.S.-Mexico border. Lawmakers are ignoring that ruling now in the Lone Star State, and they've instructed the Texas military to install more razor wire at the border, and you can see them doing that right there. Jorge Ventura is in Eagle Pass, Texas, and you've been talking to some migrants in the area as well this morning. What's been the reaction? What are you seeing right now, Jorge?
Yeah, so Marnie, right now the Texas Military Department says that they're going to hold the line and to continue their operations inside Shelby Park. Now take a look at the scene right behind us right now. We actually have 3 migrants from Venezuela trying to enter Shelby Park illegally, but they right now have been blocked by the razor wire that's been installed by Texas officials. And as we're speaking to you right now, Texas officials are actually installing even more of this razor wire. Now, a big difference from when Border Patrol agents were allowed in Shelby Park is we've seen it in the past where if there are migrants on the other side of that razor wire, then Border Patrol agents will then cut through that wire and then start the apprehension process with migrants. This is what Texas officials say they want to avoid. They do not want migrants actually to even be apprehended. They want to block any type of entry. And actually, I've been speaking with those migrants who say they actually been on the riverbanks now for 2 days trying to find a way into Shelby Park. We'll take a look over here. You can see, Marnie, even more of that razor wire is being installed by Texas officials. All this to deter any type of migrants coming in legally. They're actually even installing some of that razor wire on top of those shipping containers because many of these migrants were actually climbing on top of the shipping containers and entering legally. But these 3 migrants here are from Venezuela. They cannot find any way to enter. And if they do enter illegally, Marnie, they actually will be arrested and charged by Texas DPS troopers. And this is what Texas wants to continue to do, is block migrants from entering Shelby Park. And as of right now, they still have not allowed access to any Border Patrol agents inside Shelby Park. And they say that posture is not going to change.
So just to be clear, are they trying to get through the razor wire? We see them sitting there. Do they want to be apprehended? I mean, how does this end?
So here, Marnie, they want to be apprehended. They are looking to turn themselves over to Border Patrol officials. The issue is Shelby Park is a 2.5-mile radius. There are no Border Patrol officials. They essentially have been all kicked out. Now, what the migrants have expressed is that they have attempted to cross in other areas in Shelby Park and actually have gotten injured by the concertina wire. The female migrant actually was showing us some of her cuts on her legs. The male migrant has some cuts on his arms. But they say they've actually been waiting now on the riverbanks for 2 days. So it's unclear if they'll continue to walk down Shelby Park and eventually maybe find a Border Patrol agent past this kind of shutdown by Texas officials. But as of right now, they're essentially kind of stuck. And they actually also mentioned that they can't swim back to Mexico because the tide of that river current is going too fast right now. And if you actually should look over here, Marnie, you actually will look at Mexican officials actually posturing up. So even Mexican officials have also stepped up their efforts in stopping illegal entry. But essentially, Marnie, these migrants right now are stuck in limbo.
And Jorge, what is Shelby Park for people watching and not familiar with that particular area?
So Shelby Park is a public park here in Eagle Pass. It's about 2.5 miles long. Now, this area, if you remember, Marnie, when we were covering Eagle Pass last month, when the 2,000 migrants were crossing illegally every day here, this was essentially a huge staging area for Border Patrol. So they'll have migrants here stage, and that's when the Border Patrol will come in buses and start to transport and process. Now, when I speak with Texas officials, they say they want to avoid those scenes. They don't want any staging here in Shelby Park. What they want is for migrants to know you will be blocked any type of entry if you attempt to enter here, and you actually will be arrested. So here, Shelby Park, it is a public park, but Border Patrol has been kicked out. And so far, we haven't seen any agents even attempt to enter. But these migrants, once again, will essentially be stuck here unless they continue to walk down this riverbank and eventually find a Border Patrol agent that is past Shelby Park. But they say they've been here already for 2 days, and they look very emotional right now. And you can see the cuts on the migrants' arms and legs.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider.
Welcome everyone. My name is Sean, and today we got to talk about what is going on in the city of New York because migrants are getting into ever more increasing violent instances. And for this story, we're revisiting Randall's Island yet again because there was another brawl, another stabbing, and this situation is getting completely out of hand as the weather is starting to drop. But before we get into that, I want to say thank you to everybody signed up over at naturaljusticewarrior.com/join.
Oh, give me the money.
On this channel, we actually covered a brawl that broke out at a migrant shelter processing center where people would go in order to apply for shelter for the cold weather, and a stabbing on Randall's Island. Well, guess what? It seems like those stories have been combined because now we have a story of a brawl that broke out, a melee as being described by the press, where one person ended up being stabbed, and apparently during the whole course of the chaos of this altercation, a security guard might have been the one who actually stabbed this person. Now, how this came to be, you will find out in a little bit, but it is important to note that these situations are getting more and more chaotic due in large part to the fact that shelter space is limited. You have a 30-day time period where you can stay before you're moved out if you're a single person, 60 days if you're a family, and this is creating problem after problem at these specific areas. And we don't have to be dealing with this problem, but for the fact that the national border policy just lets all of these immigration fraudsters into our country.
Tell you about a wild chain of events under investigation on Randall's Island tonight, a fight that turned into a melee outside the migrant shelter there, and wait until you hear who's accused of stabbing an asylum seeker.
So that intro right there is actually annoying me right off the top. Of course, it's NBC News, and of course they say, oh my God, wait till you hear who is accused of stabbing an asylum seeker. First and foremost, these people are committing asylum fraud. Obviously, that is what is going on. We know that's what's happening because a lot of these people are saying that New York City is worse than their home country, and they kind of want to go back to their home country based on the minimal amount of snow that they experience here in the United States of America, which we will cover in a later video. But point being, if you're claiming asylum, i.e. you're going to be killed or persecuted in your home country, and that's why you have to be in the United States of America, why would cold weather here in the United States of America, where you're not under threat of being killed by the government, make you think that this is a worse situation than your home country? The only reason that is the case is because you came here for certain benefits. One of the reasons why these migrants are coming to New York City above other locations, and make no mistake, they're voluntarily coming here. The Texas program to ship migrants to sanctuary cities is only a small portion of the overall migrants in New York City, and that is because they expect a right to housing. They expect to be hoteled like previous cycles of migrants in expensive Central Park South hotels.
Volunteer advocates argue the city should put these migrants in some of the most expensive pieces of real estate in the world.
He could have easily, along with Governor Hochul, opened up all the vacant luxury apartments. We are on 57th Street right now. This is billionaires super towers on this street are empty.
Of course, that begs the question, who would pay for all those luxury apartments?
And as we saw with that scenario, they're willing to fight for what they believe that they're entitled to and have their advocates demand more, including the most luxurious apartments on Billionaires Row. I'm never going to stop playing this clip in my channel because it's so absurd, so just get ready to see it yet again.
Arrest after arrest on Randall's Island this afternoon. Multiple people placed in handcuffs, all of them migrants from the shelter that's set up here. Cell phone video shows a man struggling on the ground as officers surround him. More video shows another man desperate to get past the police, yelling, "My brother, my brother." His 24-year-old brother had just been stabbed and was being taken away in an ambulance.
So the first thing that I want to know as a citizen of the United States of America, as a taxpayer in the city of New York, is are these 18 arrested migrants going to be deported back to their home country? Are these people who are obviously abusing the asylum system going to get a special treatment that other people who, by the way, immigrant here legally do not get? Normally, if you're convicted of a crime, your citizenship chances are revoked. You are sent back to your home country. Yet we have 18 people that are fighting against the police, brawling with each other, and they're fighting over welfare benefits in the cold when we have our ordinary homeless people who happen to be citizens of this country, residents of New York, people dealing with drug addiction, mental illness, people who have fallen through the cracks, getting shortchanged by these migrants. Are we sending them back, or are we just going to jail them, release them automatically because bail reform, and send them right back to go fighting in another shelter?
This man did not want his face shown on camera, but he says he saw two men get into an argument inside the shelter. A security guard asked them to take it outside, and that's when things escalated.
So here we have a basic scenario. You have two men getting into an argument. Of course, this had broader implications as a total of 18 people were arrested and more people were involved in this so-called melee. Of course, we don't have footage of this. God forbid you actually see what your tax dollars are going to. God forbid you actually see the great proportion of people who happen to be single men that have entered our country illegally. And according to a witness, a security guard randomly pulled out a knife and stabbed somebody in the neck.
And more people got involved. He says he saw a security guard take out a knife and stab a migrant in the neck. Police could not confirm a security guard was involved, but they did say the victim was stabbed in the neck.
Now look, even though this could be true, to be fair, I've heard crazier stories that have turned out to be true. I am incredibly suspicious of this account from the migrant that is refusing to show his face, because one of the things that I scour through of all the news reports is to see who was arrested. And again, we have about 18 arrests in this particular event. However, all of the arrests were actually illegal migrants that were at the Randall's Island facility, and not one arrest was of a security guard. And the reason this is interesting is because while the security guard is perfectly capable of going off the rails and stabbing an illegal migrant, the fact of the matter is New York City self-defense laws in no way, shape, or form protect that. Remember when we covered the Jose Alba case, the 61-year-old guy who was being attacked and dragged out by a career criminal who was out and never should have been released after assaulting a police officer? That guy got arrested for that particular action. That guy was charged with murder, and we did a whole thing about how they criminalize this person's self-defense. Everybody in New York City who acts in self-defense eventually will find themselves being charged with a homicide, especially if they do so with a weapon, because there is no right to defend yourself effectively in the city of New York. So the fact that a security guard allegedly stabbed a migrant in the neck, the way that they're telling it, totally unprovoked, totally random, pulled it out and stabbed him, and yet we have no arrest of said security guard, even as a precaution, because a security guard would have been arrested for using too much force in this scenario, makes no sense to me at all, and is just crazy and asinine in every possible way. What seems like is more likely is that the migrant committed the stabbing, a different migrant, or the knife was being wrestled away from a migrant, and during the tussle, the knife ended up going in a migrant's neck. Now, again, I will give the caveat that I could be wrong. I will give the caveat that eventually they could indict a security guard for this. However, there seems to be no third-party verification of this account of events, and that seems very suspicious to me because obviously migrants have extra rights in the city of New York, including the right to get into brawl after brawl after brawl in the shelters that we put up for them, and of course, eventually the right to live in the most luxurious apartments in the city of New York if this activist gets his way.
Do you feel scared?
Well, I don't know, but I don't see nothing but.
This man tells us he did not see the fight, but he says fights do happen here from time to time, often over theft accusations.
Try to take the stuff, the other people, and
Stealing.
just stealing.
So this guy right here says he didn't see nothing, he doesn't know nothing. We've all heard.
Y'all get the gist of that. It's just crazy. All they're doing is fucking violence and pisses me off.
That guy who said that they should have those luxury apartments given to them, I think that either he should be deported or they should all be made to live at his house.
Mm-hmm.
He's a fucking idiot. He's a communist. Saying people should be given things without earning it. What type of crap's that?
See, I'm looking for. They're trying to say the story about them kicking the homeless veterans out is false, but I
Of
believe it
course,
was
people.
true.
It's true. They want to play it down as well, and the fact that they they're using a form of school as well that could be still used as a school to teach kids, you know, to house them when they're just gang members and really abusing everything that's given to them is just ridiculous. Like, who, you know, the people that is suffering is the ordinary people, you know, not the ultra rich politicians.
I'm here. I'm just reading.
Yeah, I was reading back in chat, and that's interesting. Truly, that you live near the Scientology Center in Florida.
That's an interesting rabbit hole.
Yeah, since I was in for a time, I could like do a live with you about that one time.
See, I don't know a lot about it, and I would like to, you know.
It is a big rabbit hole. I reckon. You'll go into it going like, oh, I'm gonna do a bit of research, and then like 8 hours will have passed, and you've just not stopped.
Right. Like whenever I get started on this, sometimes I can't, you know, it's like I gotta go to bed. Okay, there was no legal migrant that murdered an American's daughter here that I wanted to share.
Wow.
Trying to read chat too. It's hard for me to like pay attention to what I'm playing and read chat too. I don't see how people like share that has like 500 people in chat and stuff. I couldn't do it. I would lose my fucking mind.
Yeah, I seriously have no idea how she's able to like keep track of things as well as stay on topic. You know what I mean? And
And like
interact with the
she'll
chat.
say, you know, she'll say hi to everybody, and it's like, what? I can't do that.
Very skilled.
Daughter Kayla murdered by an illegal border crosser. Also with us, Texas Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. Thank you so much for coming on, Tammy. We are outraged. Americans are outraged. It disgraced what happened to you and your family and your daughter. You testified yesterday before Congress. Can you tell us first what happened to your daughter and tell us what the reaction was in Congress?
On July 27th, 2022, I received the worst news any parent can ever receive. I got a call from the detectives letting me know that my daughter was a victim of homicide. They told me that she was strangled with the phone cord, and they had no idea. They didn't have any ideas of who it was until finally January 15th of 2023, we found out that it was a minor and an illegal immigrant. And then like a week later, we found out he was an MS-13 gang member. And it just got worse from there.
Now, Tammy, we're standing right beside you and all the angel parents who have endured this and this suffering. This was preventable. How did Democrat lawmakers respond to your testimony? This was a second impeachment hearing for DHS Secretary Mayorkas. How did Democrats respond?
It was really frustrating. I'll be honest, it was really frustrating. They were on their phones when I was telling my testimony, sharing pictures of my daughter. They did not use her name. They were talking about that they received, that they were asking for more funding and border patrol, and that the Republicans weren't doing their part. But funding and more border patrol isn't going to help anyone do their jobs.
So what Tammy just said, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. So the Democrats were on their iPhones, not listening. Show the viewer the illegal alien crime in this country just last fiscal year alone. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, respond to what Tammy's saying, and that the Democrats, first of all, ignored Tammy. Secondly, they think that throwing more money at the problem will fix it. Your state, Texas, inundated with illegal crossings. Former President Trump, is saying, stop the invasion, reject the Senate border deal. Lieutenant Governor, respond to all of this.
Well, first of all, I spent 8 years in the Senate before becoming lieutenant governor for the last 9. I've been in a lot of committee hearings. The most disrespectful thing you can do is ignore a witness, even if it's a minor issue that they're bringing before you. You respect the witnesses. For them to be on their phones and to turn this into a political activity while Tammy is there pouring her heart out for this tragedy that should never have happened really underscores the disrespect the Democrats and Biden have for all Americans and for those who crossed the border, those women who are raped, those children who are gone into sexual, into sexual slave trade, in essence. This administration, this party, doesn't care about human life. And for Tammy and her family to have suffered this, I'm sad to say that she is one of many. Whether there's someone, we just had a story recently, killed by a drunk driver was here illegally. Our law enforcement who have been injured or killed. Our own people in Texas who have suffered like Tammy has. Look, there are drug dealers, gang members, MS-13, murderers, child molesters, carjackers, kidnappers, the worst of the worst who are coming across this border, including potential terrorists. We've arrested almost 300 on the terrorist watch list. This administration doesn't care. We need to shut down that border. It can be shut down. We're doing everything we can in Texas. And to give you just a sense of the size of this, over 10 million people will be here illegally since Biden turned his back on the border and just opened it up. That would be the 7th largest state in the country.
Right. And so what the lieutenant governor is saying is that, Tammy, what's so unfair and wrong is that your family's not alone, Tammy. And for Democrats not to say your daughter's name, Kayla Hamilton, is wrong. And for them to be on the phone ignoring you and thinking that, oh, we're going to throw more taxpayer money at it, again, wrong. Tammy, what happened to you and your family is a disgrace. It's an outrage. If you were to sit across these Democrats right now, what would you say to them?
I would tell them that it was not a political stunt or a political show. Mark Green and Jim Jordan did not bring me there for that. I am the one that chose to be there. I am the one that's fighting for my daughter and her honor and bringing awareness and trying to save other children and other parents from living the nightmare that I am living. I am an expert because I had no idea what was happening at the border before my daughter. Now I know way too much, and I want to prevent this from happening to someone else and to bring awareness and safety to all
Tammy,
that's living here.
Tammy, we have no idea the suffering you've been through. We can't comprehend it. Just know that we're standing with you. We're going to continue to report these stories. You're not alone. Okay, we're here for you. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, thank you so much for joining us. It's good to have you both on the show. We're going to stay on that story.
Jonathan Lee Riches investigates. I'm about to show you some footage right here.
Y'all know I love me some JLR on this. Yeah, stop the invasion, man. Send the motherfuckers back. Send them back. They got to start making examples of these people. They have to. You there, Jay? Can y'all hear me? He done passed out on me. Oh yeah, Megs. We've been covering a lot of the New York stuff that's going on. It is fucking insane. You can hear me okay. How you doing, Lovey? I can't hear you, Jay. You're really low.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
No, barely.
Hello?
You're getting better.
Hello?
You're still low. I
Any
wonder
better now?
why.
Can you hear me?
Can y'all
Better now?
hear him? Or is it just me?
Hello?
It sounds like you're under the covers.
No, I'm not.
You sure you're not wanking or whatever?
Jesus.
See, I know a little bit of British slang. Are you a wanker?
Don't say that.
It's
So you
my
can
channel. I'll
hear
say
me.
what I want to. Barely, but yeah.
People will think I'm a sex pest.
It does sound like you're under the covers, though. You're a little muffled.
My phone's fucked. That's why I've dropped it a bunch of times. You want me to try and leave and come back in?
You can.
Okay.
Love you, Megs. Here, I'll drop you might need the link again. I hate the time difference with this now. Get back to America, bro. I ain't gonna be on here too much longer, honestly. There he is.
Can you hear me better now?
It's about the same, but
Yeah,
it's better. It's a little better, yes.
good. Yeah, I hope you don't think I was pissed off with you then.
When?
No, just when the wanker thing.
Oh no, 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 not at
No, I
all.
thought it was fun. I took it as a joke.
You wouldn't expected me to know what that was and say that though, did you?
No, I'm surprised a lot more Americans know that word than I would think. You know.
Well, my stalker kind of educated me on some things. So, like fags, cigarettes, and
They talk weird, people around there.
mm-hmm.
He's like, oh,
They
don't
are
say
weird.
me.
They are weird,
They talk
definitely.
like the fucking, they're just a laughing stock. Their accents are laughing stock. They're one of the funny accents. Like high pitched.
I couldn't understand him at first, but I talked to him a lot and stuff, and I can now, and I know stuff.
Well, that's good.
I guess.
But yeah, it's fucked about the whole immigration situation.
It is.
I think when I go there in April, because that's what I was going to say earlier. When I go there in April to New York, if they've got any like protests going on, I'll go live at them.
You're going to New York in April? That's
Yeah,
cool.
for a concert.
I love New York.
I'll be in Brooklyn.
That's where the good pizza's at.
Hell yeah.
Okay,
I'm gonna
I'm gonna
probably
play
see
this.
an sorry.
No, go ahead.
I'm probably gonna see an Islanders and Rangers game. There's the Islanders and the Rangers are playing around the time I'm there.
See everything you can. New York's great. I think so. You know, not to live there like the city area and stuff, but maybe where Megs lives, more upstate. But
Yeah, for guns, I'm having to travel to New Jersey to go to a shooting range because there's no decent ones in New York City.
there's one out on Long Island.
I'd
The
rather
very
go
end
to the
of it.
I'd rather go to the one that I found online in New Jersey because the guns that you can rent there are like, I think that you can rent better weaponry in New Jersey.
I like New Jersey. It's all right there.
Yeah, it's like gun shop I was looking at. You can rent like SKSs and stuff to shoot, you know. So
Oh wow. I'm gonna
lots of
play
good
this
guns.
one last thing, and then I think I'm gonna end it, and so we can all go and roam and chit chat and shit everywhere else. You know what I mean? But this here is why Texas border crisis is becoming political or whatever. You know what I mean? Like a political
Absolutely.
showdown.
Yeah, but honestly, if you know, because Trump will win and that'll stop the civil war, another civil war.
Mm-hmm. That's why they don't want Trump to win.
Exactly, because they won it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yep.
I'll
He's
hop
gonna get
down
it.
into chat.
Get it. The
since
only
we're,
way that they can get rid of Trump is to assassinate him.
exactly,
And
but
I'll
even
worry
if they
about it.
did, that would add an exclamation mark, and then there'd be a revolution anyway. But it wouldn't be the type they'd want.
Yes, Megs, I have headphones. Why, baby? Can you not hear me?
I can hear you.
Well, I have AirPods. Same thing. Headphones.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna head down into the chat
Okay, you're
now
good.
because. But yeah,
You're
thanks
good.
so much for having me up as always. It's always so much fun being on panel with you and being able to be real and speak our minds and not be worried about stuff. And I always
Right.
appreciate
You're
your
welcome.
humor.
I need to go live sooner during the day while you're gone.
Oh,
we can-
you don't have to structure your lives around me, but like, yeah, that would.
But what if
that'd
I
be
want
great.
to?
Oh,
You wanker.
you're great. I really like you, KKB. You're funny.
Ditto,
I like the way
ditto.
you are.
Just be yourself, you know.
You're very, very. You're
yourself.
funny and you're real and genuine, and I appreciate
Oh,
that.
thank
There's no bullshit with
You are too. I like
Oh,
that.
I appreciate that. And
Stay true
hopefully
to
we can
yourself always.
100%, and hopefully we can chat again. We can chat tomorrow. You know what I mean? Because obviously we've still had a chance to talk. So whatever. So we'll probably see each
Oh
other.
yeah, definitely. We will for sure.
We always do. See ya. I'll be in the chat though.
All right.
Bye bye.
Today, a battle at the U.S. border.
You swam the river, sweetheart. I didn't swim no river.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott is testing how far he can go to enforce immigration.
3 migrants drowned in the Rio Grande after help could not reach them in time. The state's National Guard blocking U.S. Border Patrol agents from a crucial...
But as election season looms and people search for a better life over the U.S. border, what's on the line? I'm Malika Bilal, and this is The Take. If you're a person crossing the U.S. border with Mexico into Texas, Al Jazeera correspondent Heidi Jo Castro says it's really the luck of the draw what you'll encounter when it comes to law enforcement.
The Border Patrol would sometimes cut through the wire, help small children get across without getting cut too badly. And then just meters away, Texas police comes in. I saw a lot of people getting handcuffed as if they were criminals.
Heidi's now based in Washington, D.C., but she knows Texas well.
I spent most of my adult life living in the state of Texas and covering a lot of immigration and border issues and covering this border surge.
So tell me about the small Texas town of Eagle Pass, the epicenter of this border crisis. I know that you've been watching this play out over several months now.
When I was last in Eagle Pass late last year, Migrants who crossed the Rio Grande would first see layers and layers of barbed wire fencing. That was their first reception into the United States. Many would just cling to the few meters of land that are out of the water, but still not in the thicket of the barbed wire. And they would be essentially stuck there overnight, sometimes for many hours, regardless of whatever the weather is. And they would hope that someone would come and help them, cutting through the razor wire and helping them across. And the people who were doing that, which I saw with my own eyes, was U.S. Border Patrol agents.
So, Heidi, a lot of what we're seeing revolves around a conflict between the Texas National Guard, run by Governor Greg Abbott, and the Border Patrol, which is under President Joe Biden's administration. What do these agencies do? And why are people who are trying to come to the U.S. having such a different experience with the two?
Yeah, well, the U.S. Border Patrol, they are typically the front line, and they are stationed up and down the border. And as we've seen more and more migrants trying to cross into the U.S., we've seen a greater portion of Border Patrol's jobs also dedicated to the humanitarian response as more and more people put themselves at risk in order to make the crossing. More recently, there has been another government law enforcement agency, the Texas State Police, that reports to the Republican Governor Greg Abbott. And alongside them, the Texas National Guard, which also take their orders from Greg Abbott. And they basically form an intimidation barrier. They have no authority to essentially arrest anyone because at this moment in time, at least, that is still a federal crime to cross the border without authorization. However, they do pose a pretty imposing barrier physically.
Right now, we got my soldiers online on the C-Wire, making sure that we are stopping them from entering illegally, and we're going to continue patrolling out here and do what we do best. It's Texans serving Texans.
Soldiers carrying their weapons, Humvees, very much a militarized border look. And also the state police who do arrest people for trespassing, which is a Texas state law violation. They're put in zip tie handcuffs and then they're marched off. But whether they encounter U.S. Border Patrol first or the state police, they all end up in the same place, which is under processing of the Border Patrol of Homeland Security, which reports to the federal government.
So they end up in the same place, but the treatment, is it different?
President Biden at that time was talking about how the United States was differentiating, the treatment of migrants from his predecessor, Donald Trump, by taking this more humanitarian approach. And I remember interviewing the U.S. Border Patrol chief who said he was not going to stand by and tell his men and women of the U.S. Border Patrol to just let people suffer or let them endanger their lives. And we did see this time and time again. U.S. Border Patrol cut through that razor wire. Some even carried children themselves across when their parents were very obviously in too poor of condition to help them across. Some people were falling on the ground.
And even speaking to people, both anti-migrant protesters and residents of the town who have been welcoming people who are streaming over. Can you describe what the town was like before this crisis and what it looks like these days?
Eagle Pass is a very small border town, and it only became the epicenter of these recent migrant arrivals after the surrounding areas were fenced off more due to Trump and his border wall. So at Eagle Pass, there is no physical barrier fence-wise, and there's this little island in the middle of the Rio Grande. So people only have to wade halfway across the water, and then they can rest for a little while, and then when they feel up to it, wade the rest of the way. And I believe that is one of the major reasons why people choose this very spot to cross, despite this 5 kilometers or so of stretch of the border now being the most militarized. People were coming across, this was late last year, by the hundreds. Sometimes it was just a few people in a family group, but oftentimes they try to find support in numbers. And sometimes several dozen people would cross at the same time, linking their arms together to withstand the current, carrying children above their heads to stay out of the water. Even a woman who was in a wheelchair, who was paralyzed from the waist down, she was carried across. So this stretch of the riverbank of the Rio Grande became this scene of high, intense emotions for these migrants who, from what I saw, seemed caught between elation at having come so far to create to this final barrier they saw, and of fear, and every one of them exhausted. exhausted because they had already come so many thousands of kilometers. And then to see this barbed wire before they were finally allowed to come to the U.S. side.
The law enforcement agencies and migrants themselves weren't the only people Heidi encountered there.
So in Eagle Pass, we met up with a convoy of right-wing, anti-illegal immigration protesters who had traveled there from across the United States. Now, these are mostly people who are very big Trump supporters. They named themselves the Take Our Border Back Convoy. But some of their leaders also dubbed God's Army.
Here, hundreds of them caravan from Virginia here to this South Texas ranch to protest the Biden administration's handling of immigration issues here at the southern border.
They came in semi-trucks, decked out with American flags, with pro-Trump signs, anti-migrant signs. Some had bullhorns. Some were wearing animal pelts. There was actually a man from Minnesota who called himself Minnesota Mike that drove along the highway, and we drove beside him, and he was wearing his animal pelt and talking to us out of his windshield.
Minnesota Mike says, get your butt down to the border.
What's your message when you get down there?
Shut the border. Keep it closed.
And that was sort of the attitude. There was some concern that these right-wing protesters would be armed, and many were, because Texas is an open carry state. But upon arriving in Eagle Pass, I would say between 100 to 200 vehicles, they set up a campground / political rally / Christian evangelical revival type meeting. Yeah. And some of the local residents of Eagle Pass who were welcoming of the migrants didn't want this, what they said was a hate-filled rally. I talked to one woman who said she was a third-generation rancher in the area. And she said that she lives right on the border. And when migrants come across, as they often do, right into her ranch, she said they're usually asking for water.
Usually people just want food and water and a clean pair of socks. Sometimes when I find people, they get down on their knees and they ask for God to bless me.
Wow. And she says she's never seen any sort of crime. She's never seen them be violent. That this rhetoric, which I heard over and over again from the convoy and from Donald Trump himself, that criminals are coming, or that rapists are coming, or that children traffickers, drug dealers are coming. This resident on the border said that she'd never encountered that. But ultimately, it was a political showdown between the two sides, with the convoy of anti-migrant protesters saying that the border is under crisis, blaming it on President Biden, saying they supported Greg Abbott's efforts, the Texas governor, to crack down on border crossings. And ultimately, the name on everyone's lips and on every sign was Trump.
After the break, how tensions along the border parallel the strain between Republicans like Trump and Texas Governor Abbott and the Biden administration. So, Heidi, let's talk about the impetus behind Texas Governor Greg Abbott's moves here. He has been pretty steadfast in his efforts to stop border crossings through a number of policies. What are some of them, and how are they actually affecting the migrants looking for better lives?
Yeah, we've already talked about how Greg Abbott has deployed the Texas National Guard. Apart from that, over the last couple years, Abbott has made a name for himself by busing migrants out of his state.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott repeatedly sends thousands of migrants from the border state to Democrat-run cities.
So once the migrants have been processed by U.S. Border Patrol, they are driven to Chicago, New York, places that are governed by liberal, democratic local government. And then essentially these buses just dump people in the middle of the city. He said that he wanted them to feel Texas's pain, and he's been successful in that. We've heard many mayors of these large U.S. cities say that this has become a problem. Migrants with really nowhere to go suddenly just show up in their cities. And perhaps the most consequential step that the Texas governor has taken is a new state law. It will take effect on March 5th, and it would essentially allow the state of Texas to deport people.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed one of the toughest state immigration laws in recent American history on Monday. It allows police to arrest migrants suspected of crossing the border illegally.
Why that is so incredible is because the US Constitution clearly says it is the federal government's job to enforce border security and immigration. And that is not even in question. However, Abbott says that he has a right to pass these laws and take these incredible measures because he claims that his state is under, quote, invasion.
Wow.
We are banding together to fight to ensure that we will be able to maintain our constitutional guarantee that states will be able to defend against any type of imminent danger or an invasion.
And so if this law takes effect as intended on March 5th, it would create a state crime category for people crossing into Texas, just as if Texas were its own country. And people caught crossing could be punishable from 6 months to 20 years in prison.
Wow.
But here's the carrot, I guess, that Abbott is extending. If a person who's been charged agrees to immediately return to Mexico, then those criminal charges are dropped. So essentially, it's a state-level deportation system that the U.S. has never seen before.
Right. Are there any means to stop it?
The federal government says that this law is, quote, clearly unconstitutional. The Department of Justice is asking for an injunction so that this state law does not take effect.
And that razor wire we talked about earlier, that's part of the politics here, too. The U.S. Supreme Court actually granted a request from the Biden administration to allow federal Border Patrol agents to cut or move razor wire. This was back in January. This is really setting the scene for an election showdown between Dems and Republicans. Talk to me about how that tension is playing out politically.
Yeah, so Greg Abbott is now being accused of being in open defiance of a U.S. Supreme Court order, saying that U.S. Border Patrol has ultimate supremacy on the border. However, the state police and the state National Guard still have physical possession of that 5-kilometer stretch of the border. And despite the Supreme Court's order, they have not allowed U.S. Border Patrol access. So the ball right now is in President Biden's court. There are people who are very worried about what might happen next. If the president were to order his U.S. Border Patrol to get access, that could mean a physical confrontation between the federal government and the state law enforcement.
So this standoff, is it having wider implications? Because you mentioned earlier that the convoy that came down to Eagle Pass had Trump on the lips. What does Trump have to do with this?
Trump became president, you can argue, by politicizing the border situation back in 2016.
They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're rapists, and some, I assume, are good people.
And of course, he's running for president again. And so it is in Trump's own interest to continue this perception of chaos on the border, which he uses to accuse Biden of mismanagement, of ineptitude in managing the border.
Nobody to this day can explain why this open wound is good for our country. But we're going to seal the border, complete it, and we're going to repeal the invasion.
There was a bipartisan bill in the Senate that was seeking to present some solutions to the current large number of border arrivals. And it included a number of notable concessions from Democrats. And President Biden sounded really more like a Republican candidate than a Democrat. So this bipartisan bill in the Senate was on its way to a full vote, but then it sizzled, and in dramatic fashion, because Republicans who had first insisted on these elements in the bill then withdrew their support after former President Trump said, you have to not support this bill. So many people are looking at it that Trump is trying to deny a solution to this border issue and let it continue to fester until the election, hoping that this gives him a greater edge.
And that's The Take. This episode was produced by Sonia Bagat and Narendra.
All of this shit, in my opinion, that they've done to Trump recently, you know, trying to get him arrested and all this, it's only helping him because it's actually proving his point of how scummy and grimy and all that people are in the media. They're actually proving his point. Right, Jay. Yeah, thank you, Meg. She didn't have to do that, Lovey. I love you. Oh, wow, 8 years. Right, Jay. It's like proving his point. I mean, did they not see that? They thought it was gonna hurt him, and it actually helped him. It really did. Especially, like, with the Black community or whatever, you know, because they all had people convinced that Trump was racist, and no. Now they know. You know, and it's like there's just they proved Trump's point totally 100%, and he's stronger now with he has a stronger support group and following now than he ever has, in my opinion. Okay, I know I'm gonna end it with a song here for us. That's about all, because I'm getting a little sleepy myself. You already know what I'm gonna play. And after that, I will end it and try to go live earlier tomorrow, and I will definitely try to get you called in there, Jay. Today was crazy. I'm so clued up. Oh, thank you. I try. I listen, you know, I pay attention, and I don't know. I got like street smarts and all that, you know what I'm saying? Like common sense. I ain't got no book smarts, maybe, but. All right, good night. I love you all. After the song, I want to end it and see you later.
The world getting crazy, baby, chill. Don't medicate, just meditate. You waking up now, well, baby, you hella late. Educate, look at what's going on, let it resonate, accelerate. Find your inner hunger like you never ate. Agenda is to push the hate, separate and segregate. Don't celebrate quite yet, the storm is coming, Q, for heaven's sake. Violence that they demonstrate, instigate and penetrate the values of our country and our God is what they desecrate. My fighters ain't no featherweight, pulling out the seams of the fabric that they fabricate. They feed us lies, manipulate, intimidate through fear and force, forcing us to sit and wait till we come together, congregate, and then we liberate. Praying that you give me strength to find some love amongst the hate. Marching on these streets of blood till I see the golden gates. Troubadour and troubled souls, one of God's servants. Blades out, cut the grass till we see the serpents.
One day I hope you see the truth. This puppet show stays on because of you fools. We've been dancing with the devil way too long. I know it's fun, but get ready to pay your dues. Oh God, come back home. This crazy world is filled with liars and abusers. We need you now before we're too far gone. I hope one day they finally see the truth. God, we need you now.
I know the truth is hard to swallow, just digest it. Suspected something's going on, but chose to just neglect it. Deflected by some breaking news, oh, we just accept it. Expected just to fall in line and follow their perspective. Don't question their objective, but I got a lot of questions. How these kids molested, but nobody's been arrested. Read it in the testament, these children are protected. So I'm fighting all these terrorists, both foreign and domestic. Refuse to be directed, blind, not a sheep. Only kneel to my God, so I'm dying on my feet. Silence when we speak, but there's violence in the street. I've been rolling with the punches, I can't take it on the cheek. Drink from a glass half full, I'm optimistic. People are sadistic, so vicious and malicious. Praying for assistance to overcome opposition, or I'm gonna start resisting, and then I'll pray for forgiveness.
One day I hope you see the truth. This puppet show stays on because of you fools. We've been it's fun, but get ready to pay your dues. Oh God, come back home. This crazy world is filled with liars and abusers. We need you now before we're too far gone. I hope one day they finally see the truth. God, we need you now. We need you now. We need you now. One day, one day, one day, I hope you see the truth. This puppet show stays on because of you fools. We've been dancing with the devil way too long. I know it's fun, but get ready to pay your dues. Oh God, come back home. This crazy world is filled with liars and abusers. We need you now before we're too far gone. I hope one day they finally see the truth. God, we need you now.